"If you answer this right, I'll give you the store," joked the owner to the girl in line, so she did. Ashley Johnson nervously fidgeted with the coins in her pocket as she waited in line for the bathroom at the most elegant boutique in Beverly Hills. Her feet ached after another day selling water on the beach, and all she wanted was a moment of relief before heading home. The shop owner, Margaret Blackwell, watched curiously as this plainly dressed young woman stood out completely in the refined setting. It was when her eyes landed on the vintage handbag displayed in the main window that a mischievous idea crossed her mind. "Girl, you there waiting?" Margaret called with a teasing smile. "If you answer one question correctly about that handbag in the window, I'll give you the whole store." The other customers chuckled softly, amused by the situation. Ashley felt her face flush with embarrassment, but something about the handbag caught her attention strangely. "Are you serious?" asked Ashley, still not daring to look directly at the owner. "Of course not, dear, it's just a joke," Margaret replied, enjoying herself. "But go on, tell me, what's the secret of that brown handbag in the window?" Ashley slowly approached the display, and when her eyes focused on the piece, her heart nearly stopped. It was impossible, but she recognized every detail of that craftsmanship. "This handbag," Ashley began, her voice trembling, "was handmade with leather tanned with oak bark tannin. The clasp has a special system that only opens if you press it twice in a row. And inside, there's a small, almost invisible mark. The initials MJ engraved in the lining." Margaret's smile vanished completely. She looked at Ashley with an expression of shock she couldn't hide. "How could you know that?" Margaret whispered, feeling her legs go weak. "Because my grandmother made this handbag," Ashley answered, tears in her eyes. "She told me thousands of times about every detail, about how she took extra care with the finish because it was for someone very special." The customers who had laughed earlier now watched in absolute silence, sensing something very serious was happening. Margaret felt as if the ground had opened beneath her feet. "Your grandmother, what was her name?" Margaret asked, her voice shaking. "Mary Johnson. She always said she'd return to working with leather one day, that she had big dreams." Ashley stopped speaking when she saw the owner's face turn pale. Margaret had to lean on the counter for support. Mary Johnson. The name she had tried to forget for so many years, the name that haunted her sleepless nights. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. You said Mary Johnson?" Margaret repeated, barely able to form the words. "Yes, ma'am. She passed away 5 years ago, but until her last days she told stories about the time she worked with leather here in Los Angeles," Ashley replied, not understanding the woman's reaction. Margaret felt the world spinning around her. Mary had left without them ever reconciling, without her being able to ask forgiveness for what her family had done. "Gwendolyn," Margaret called out to the store manager, "bring a chair for the girl and a glass of water." "Miss Margaret, are you all right?" Gwendolyn asked, worried about her employer's pallor. I'm fine. I just need a moment," Margaret lied, trying to compose herself. Ashley accepted the chair, confused by the whole situation. She didn't understand why her grandmother's name had such an impact on the elegant boutique owner. "Girl, what's your full name?" Margaret asked, struggling to steady her voice. "Ashley Johnson Davis, ma'am. I live in Compton and have been selling water at the beach since I turned 18. And your grandmother? Did she talk about her past? About people she knew?" insisted Margaret, each question feeling like torture to her. "She did. She always talked about having a very dear friend, how they dreamed of starting a business together. She said this friend was like a sister to her, but something bad happened and they drifted apart," Ashley said innocently, unaware of how each word was a dagger to Margaret's heart. Tears began streaming down Margaret's face without her even realizing it. After 40 years, the past had returned to claim its price. "This friend, did your grandmother say her name?" Margaret asked, already knowing the answer. "She did." Margaret. Grandma always said Margaret had been the most important person in her life after family, that they had plans, dreams, but a terrible misunderstanding destroyed everything. Margaret couldn't take it anymore and began crying openly. The customers in the store grew uncomfortable, unsure of what was happening. "Ma'am, did you know my grandmother?" Ashley asked, starting to piece the puzzle together. "I did. I knew her very well," Margaret managed to say between tears. She was my best friend." Ashley felt a shiver run down her spine. Her whole life she'd heard about the mysterious Margaret, and now she was face to face with her. "So you're that Margaret? The one Grandma could never forget?" Ashley asked, her voice full of emotion. "It's me, dear, it's me," Margaret confirmed, barely able to speak. The silence that followed was heavy, laden with decades of hurt and longing. The other customers, sensing the intimacy of the moment, began discreetly leaving the store. "Grandma always wondered if you still thought about her," Ashley said softly. "Not a day went by that I didn't think about Mary," Margaret confessed. "Not a single day." Gwendolyn, who had worked at the store for 15 years, had never seen her boss so shaken. She quietly decided to close the store early, flipping the sign on the door. "But what happened between you two? Grandma never wanted to share the details," Ashley asked. Margaret took a deep breath, knowing the time had come to face the ghosts of the past. "It was because of this store, Ashley. Your grandmother and I had a dream, to open a boutique together. We worked hard, saved every penny. Mary made the most beautiful handbags you've ever seen, and I handled the business side. What went wrong?" "My father," Margaret answered bitterly. "When he found out about our plans, he was furious. He said he couldn't allow his daughter to associate with someone from—" She stopped, unable to continue. "Someone from the projects," Ashley finished, no resentment in her voice. "Forgive me. It was a different time, but that doesn't excuse anything. My father did terrible things to drive your grandmother away from me." Ashley stayed silent, waiting for Margaret to find the courage to continue. "He told lies to Mary, said I'd spoken badly about her to others, that I was taking advantage of her talent. And to me, he made up that Mary was trying to deceive me, that she wanted to keep all the money we'd saved together. Grandma believed those lies? At first, no, but my father was very convincing. He even forged documents to make it seem like Mary was trying to open the store behind my back, cutting me out." Margaret closed her eyes, reliving the pain of those days. "And you believed it too?" "For a while, yes. I was young, impressionable. When I confronted Mary with the false evidence, we had a terrible fight. She tried to explain, but I wouldn't listen. I was blinded by anger and disappointment." Ashley's heart broke, imagining her beloved grandmother going through that. "When I discovered the truth, it was already too late," Margaret continued. "Mary had disappeared. No one knew where she was. I searched for months, years, but she had vanished completely from my life. She moved to Compton shortly after, met my grandfather there and built a new life," Ashley explained. "Was she happy?" Margaret asked, fearing the answer. "Yes, very happy, but she always carried sadness in her eyes when she spoke of the past. She said she had left a piece of her heart here in Beverly Hills." The two women fell silent for a few minutes, absorbing the weight of this unlikely reunion. "Ashley, that joke I made about giving you the store if you answered correctly," Margaret began. "You don't have to worry about that. I know you were joking," Ashley interrupted. "But I wasn't," Margaret said, surprising the young woman. "I mean, I was joking at the time, but now I understand it wasn't a coincidence that you're here today." Ashley looked at her, confused. "This store exists because of the dream your grandmother and I shared. I built all of this thinking about what we would have done together. Every detail here is a tribute to her, even if unconsciously." "Ms. Margaret, just call me Margaret, please, and let me finish," the owner requested. "All these years, this store has been a success, but I've always felt like an imposter, as if I were living a life that wasn't mine but ours." Margaret stood and walked to the display case, where the handbag that had started it all was kept. "This bag was meant to be the first product of our store. Mary gave it to me as a gift the day we signed the lease for this space. It was the last thing I received from her before everything fell apart." Ashley approached the display, examining her grandmother's masterpiece more closely. "It's beautiful," she sighed. "May I see it up close?" Margaret opened the case with trembling hands and handed the bag to Ashley. The young woman held it reverently, running her fingers over the details her grandmother had described so many times. "Look inside," Margaret suggested. Ashley opened the bag and there it was, engraved on the lining the initials MJ she had mentioned. But there was something else, a small golden plaque that read, "To my heart's sister, M." "She truly loved you like a sister," Ashley murmured, moved. "And I loved her the same way. That's why what happened was so devastating for both of us." Ashley carefully closed the bag and returned it to Margaret. "What do you intend to do now?" she asked. "I want to right the wrongs of the past. I want to honor your grandmother's memory in the only way I can." "How?" "By teaching you everything I know about this business. By giving you the opportunity your grandmother never had because of my family." Ashley was speechless. The offer was tempting but also terrifying. "I don't know anything about fashion or luxury businesses," she confessed. "Your grandmother didn't either when we started, but she had something you can't teach: heart, talent, and honesty. And from what I can see, you've inherited those qualities from her. But I need to work. My mother depends on the money I make selling water." "How much do you earn a day?" Margaret asked. "On a good day, about $60. I'll pay you double to work here, and if you prove you have potential, in 6 months I'll make you a partner." Ashley nearly fainted. The offer was surreal, too good to be true. "Why would you do this for me? You don't even know me." "Because you're the granddaughter of the woman I loved most in this life, because I need to honor her memory, and because, selfishly, I need a second chance to do things right." Ashley looked around the luxurious store, trying to imagine herself working in that environment. "I don't know if I could adapt. I'm very different from your clients. And that's exactly why I need you. This store has become a cold place for people who can afford any price. Your grandmother dreamed of something different: accessible elegance, beauty that touched people's hearts." "What do you mean?" "Mary believed every woman deserved to feel special, no matter how much money she had. She wanted to create a store that was welcoming to all social classes." Ashley smiled, recognizing her grandmother's values in Margaret's words. "That sounds just like Grandma. She always said beauty has no price. It just needs to be nurtured." "Exactly. But over the years, I lost that vision. I let myself be driven by greed, by status. I turned our dream into something Mary would never approve of. And now you want to change? With your help, yes. You can teach me to return to the roots, to the values your grandmother cherished." Ashley felt a mix of fear and hope, and the opportunity was incredible, but it also represented a completely new and unknown world. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, continuing. "I need to think," Ashley finally said. "Of course, it's an important decision," Margaret agreed. "But let me do one thing before you go." Margaret took a piece of paper and began writing. "This is my personal number and my address. I want you to go home, talk to your family, and think it over. If you decide to accept, you can start on Monday." Ashley took the paper, still in shock over everything that had happened. "What if I'm not cut out for this? What if I disappoint you like—" She stopped, not wanting to finish the sentence. "Like your grandmother disappointed me," Margaret completed. "Ashley, your grandmother never disappointed me. I was the one who disappointed her. I let other people destroy our friendship and our dreams. Still, I'm afraid I won't live up to expectations. Do you know what your grandmother always told me? That fear is normal, but it can't be a reason to give up on dreams. If you have even a little of her courage, everything will work out." Ashley tucked the paper into her bag, still processing everything she'd experienced in the last few hours. "Can I ask you something?" Ashley said before leaving. "Of course. Do you have family? Children?" "I have a daughter, Bethany. She lives in London, works in finance. We don't talk much. She never approved of my business methods." "Methods?" "Over time, I became a harsh person, too demanding. Bethany always said I was cold with employees, that I only cared about profit. She wasn't wrong. And if I accept working here, will things be different?" "They'll have to be. Because this time, I want to do things right, the way your grandmother would have wanted." Ashley nodded and headed for the door. Before leaving, she glanced once more at the handbag in the display. Margaret? Yes? Grandma used to say that when something feels too much like fate to be a coincidence, it probably isn't a coincidence. Margaret smiled through her tears. Your grandmother was always wise. Ashley left the store with her heart racing and her mind buzzing. The trip back to Compton felt longer than usual, every step filled with anxiety and anticipation. When she got home, she found her mother, Catherine, preparing dinner in the small kitchen. Ashley, you're late. Did something happen? Catherine asked, noticing her daughter's unusual expression. Mom, sit down. I need to tell you something amazing that happened. Catherine dried her hands on her apron and sat at the table, worried. You're not sick, are you? No, Mom. It's about Grandma Mary and about Margaret. Catherine's eyes widened. She knew the story of the lost friendship between her mother-in-law and this Margaret well. What do you mean about Margaret? Ashley told the whole story, from the moment she walked into the boutique to the job offer. Catherine listened in silence, her expression shifting between disbelief and emotion. Oh my, Ashley, your grandmother would be so happy to know you two found each other, Catherine said when her daughter finished speaking. But I'm scared, Mom. What if I can't do it? What if I'm humiliated because I don't know how to act in that world? Sweetheart, you have your grandmother's blood in you. Mary was a fighter and so are you. If this opportunity came into your life, it's because you're ready for it. But what about the money? The beachside water stand is a sure thing. This whole store idea might not work out. Ashley, your grandmother spent her whole life dreaming of a second chance. Now you have that chance. It would be an insult to her memory to waste it out of fear. Mother and daughter talked late into the night, weighing the pros and cons. When Ashley finally went to sleep, she had already made her decision. On Monday morning, Ashley was at the boutique's door at 8 sharp, wearing her best outfit, a simple white blouse and dark jeans. Margaret greeted her with a nervous smile. She too had spent the weekend reflecting on her decision to offer Ashley the job. Good morning, Ashley. Have you decided to accept my offer? I have, but with one condition. What is it? I want to really learn. I don't want to be pitied or given special treatment because of Grandma. If I'm not good enough, send me away. Margaret was impressed by the young woman's firm stance. Deal, but no, this won't be easy. My employees are demanding and the clients even more so. I'm ready. Margaret called her 3 employees together for a meeting. Girls, I'd like you to meet Ashley, our new employee. She starts today and I hope you'll help her adjust. The employees, Patricia, Amanda and Julia, greeted Ashley politely, but she sensed some discomfort in the air. Ashley, I'll explain how things work here, said Patricia, the eldest of the 3. Our clientele is very particular. They expect flawless service. I understand. What do I need to know specifically? First, you need to learn every piece in the store: brand, price, origin. Second, always offer the most expensive items first. Third, never act surprised by the prices. Ashley absorbed every detail, determined to do well. The first day was challenging. Ashley watched the other employees assist customers, noting their formal posture and polished language. You need to change how you speak, Amanda whispered when no clients were nearby. These women expect a more refined vocabulary. What do you mean? Instead of saying, this bag is pretty, say, this piece has a timeless design. Instead of, it's expensive, say, the investment is considerable. Got it? Ashley nodded, but inside she felt like she was learning a foreign language. At the end of the day, Margaret called her in for a chat. How was it? Hard. I feel like I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. And you are. The question is that necessarily a bad thing? What do you mean? Sometimes we have to adapt to survive in a new environment. That doesn't mean losing who we are. It means expanding our skills. Ashley reflected on Margaret's words all the way home. The next few days followed a similar pattern. Ashley soaked up knowledge like a sponge, but still felt out of place. On Thursday, a situation tested her limits. A very arrogant client walked in, looking for a gift for her daughter. I want something exclusive, something that shows good taste, the woman said, eyeing Ashley with disdain. We have some exquisite pieces that might interest you, Ashley replied, trying to use the formal vocabulary she'd learned. You're new here, aren't you? The client asked with a superior tone. Yes, ma'am. But I can assure you that I'd prefer to be assisted by someone more experienced, the woman interrupted. Where's Patricia? Ashley felt her face burn with shame, but maintained her composure. I'll call her for you. When Patricia took over, Ashley stepped away, feeling humiliated. Margaret, who had observed the scene, approached. Don't let this get to you, she said softly. How can I not? She treated me as if I were beneath her. And are you beneath her? No, but she has money, formal education. Ashley, your grandmother faced far worse prejudice than this. And do you know how she responded? By proving through her work that she was better than any of them. These words motivated Ashley to persevere. She studied fashion, decor, and etiquette at home. She observed every customer, trying to understand their needs and desires. The following week, an elderly woman entered the store looking for a special gift for her granddaughter, who was graduating from medical school. The other employees tried to sell the most expensive items, but the woman seemed unsure. May I help you? Ashley offered. Oh dear, I just don't know what to choose. My granddaughter is very special, you see. She worked so hard to get where she is. Ashley sensed sincerity in the woman's voice and decided on a different approach. It must be such a tremendous pride for you, Ashley said with genuine emotion. A woman who achieves her dreams through effort deserves something truly special. Exactly. You understand perfectly. May I suggest something? Ashley picked out an elegant handbag, not the most expensive in the store. This piece has a classic design that never goes out of style. Your granddaughter can wear it in any professional setting, but also for special occasions. It's like a symbol of her achievement. The woman took the bag and examined it carefully. It's perfect, elegant without being flashy. My granddaughter will love it. The sale was completed with the customer radiant with happiness. Patricia and Amanda were surprised. It wasn't even close to the most expensive bag they had tried to sell. How did you know this was the one she wanted? Amanda asked. Because I listened to what she was really looking for. It wasn't the most expensive or flashiest bag. It was something that represented her love for her granddaughter. Margaret had watched the entire scene and felt proud. Ashley was finding her own way of working, combining technical knowledge with human sensitivity. At the end of that week, Margaret called Ashley in for a more serious conversation. I have a proposal for you. What kind of proposal? I want you to take on greater responsibility. Our online store isn't doing well. Internet sales are weak and we need to change our strategy. But I don't know anything about the internet or online sales. You don't need to understand technology. You need to understand people. And you've shown you have that talent. Ashley was flattered but also apprehensive. What exactly would I have to do? Reimagine how we present our products online. Tell stories, create emotional connections with customers, turn a simple purchase into an experience. That sounds like what Grandma used to do with her handbags. She always said each piece had a soul, a story to tell. Exactly. That's the vision we need to bring to our store. Ashley accepted the challenge, and in the following weeks she dedicated herself to studying the store's website and understanding why it wasn't working. The problem is it's too cold, she explained to Margaret. The photos are beautiful, but they don't say anything about the pieces. It's like they're objects without personality. And how would you change that? I'd create little stories for each product. Explain when to wear them, how to style them, what kind of woman would connect with that piece. Make the purchase more personal. Margaret loved the idea and gave Ashley the green light to implement the changes. The results were surprising. Within a month, online sales tripled. Customers left comments on the website thanking us for the detailed product descriptions and guidance on how to use them. Ashley, you have a natural talent for this, praised Margaret. You're transforming our store. I'm just applying what I learned from Grandma. Treat every customer as if they're unique and special. However, not everything was smooth sailing. As Ashley took on more responsibilities, tensions arose with the other employees. "She's only been here 2 months and already calls all the shots," Patricia grumbled in a whisper Ashley accidentally overheard. "She's the boss's favorite. Of course she gets special treatment," Amanda replied. Ashley pretended not to hear, but the words stung. She knew she had to prove her worth beyond any perceived favoritism. The opportunity came when the store received a visit from a very important potential client, Samantha Parker, an influential businesswoman organizing a charity event in need of a sponsor. "Our brand needs to be associated with noble causes," Samantha explained to Margaret. "I'm looking for stores with strong values and social commitment." Margaret was intrigued but unsure how to approach the topic. "What kind of social commitment do you have in mind?" she asked. "Projects that truly impact the community. Not just donations, but actions that transform lives." Ashley, who was arranging a nearby display, had an idea. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Excuse me, may I suggest something?" Margaret tensed, worried Ashley might say something inappropriate. "Of course, dear," Samantha replied, curious. "What if we created a project combining fashion and social inclusion? We could offer leathercraft workshops for underprivileged youth using traditional techniques." Samantha was immediately interested. "Go on." "The pieces made in the workshops could be sold in the store, with all proceeds going back to the participants. It would give them real work opportunities, not just handouts." "Interesting. And do you have the technical expertise to teach leathercraft?" Ashley glanced at Margaret, who understood what she was hinting at. "We do. In fact, the idea has deep roots in this store's history." "How so?" Margaret took a deep breath and decided to share the story. "This store was founded on the dream of 2 women, a talented artisan and a budding entrepreneur. Though they couldn't fulfill that dream together, we now have the chance to honor one of them through this project." Samantha was visibly moved. "This is exactly what I'm looking for. Authenticity, real purpose, genuine social impact." The partnership was sealed that same day, with Samantha agreeing to sponsor the project and promote the store at her charity event. After Samantha left, Margaret looked at Ashley with admiration. "Where did you learn to think like that?" "From Grandma. She always said true success comes when we help others succeed too." Patricia and Amanda, who had watched the whole scene, were impressed by Ashley's ability to turn a simple business visit into a social project opportunity. "Maybe we underestimated her," Amanda whispered to Patricia. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out." Now, continuing. The Leathercraft Workshop project began taking shape. Ashley suggested holding it in the store on Sundays when it was closed. "We'll need a qualified instructor," Margaret mused. "I have an idea," Ashley said. "I know an older gentleman in Compton, Mr. Joseph, who's worked with leather his whole life. He could help us. Do you think he'd agree?" "Let's ask." The following Sunday, Ashley took Margaret to visit Compton. It was the first time the businesswoman had gone up the hill, and she felt both nervous and curious. "I had no idea it was so big," Margaret remarked, observing the vastness of the community. "Most people don't know. They think it's just poverty and violence, but there's a lot of good here too," Ashley explained proudly. They arrived at Mr. Joseph's small workshop, a 70-year-old man with calloused hands and kind eyes. "Mr. Joseph, this is Margaret, the one I told you about," Ashley introduced. "Pleasure to meet you, Miss Margaret. Ashley told me about you. It's an honor to meet Mary's friend." Margaret was moved to be introduced as Mary's friend, even after all these years. "The pleasure is mine, Mr. Joseph. Ashley said you're a master at working with leather." "Oh, I've been doing this for over 50 years. Learned from my father, who learned from his. It's a family tradition. And would you like to teach this tradition to young people?" "I'd love to. It saddens me to see this craft fading. Young folks today aren't interested in handiwork anymore." "Then let's make this project work," Margaret decided. During the conversation, Mr. Joseph showed some pieces he'd made: wallets, belts, small handbags. The work was impeccable, showcasing decades of experience and care. "Mary taught me a few tricks when we were young," Mr. Joseph mentioned casually. "What do you mean?" Margaret asked, surprised. "She lived nearby when she first arrived from Beverly Hills. We became friends, and sometimes she'd help me with techniques she'd learned." She was very talented. Margaret felt a pang in her heart, imagining Mary starting over in Compton, far from everything she knew. "Did she talk about the past?" she asked carefully. "Not much. Just said she'd left a half-finished dream in Beverly Hills, but she never shared details." Ashley watched the exchange between Margaret and Mr. Joseph, noticing how every mention of her grandmother still deeply affected the businesswoman. On the way back, Margaret was quiet, lost in thought. "Are you okay?" Ashley asked. "I'm thinking about how I wasted so many years. Your grandmother was here so close and I never truly looked for her. Grandma didn't look for you either. But she was the one who was wronged. I should have chased the truth. Margaret, Grandma always said there's no use looking back with regret. What matters is what we do with the time we still have." Margaret smiled sadly. "Your grandmother really was wise. The workshop project launched 2 weeks later, with 10 young people from Compton, selected by Ashley and Mr. Joseph. The first class took place on a rainy Sunday, but everyone arrived on time. "Welcome to Margaret's Boutique Leathercraft Workshop," the owner said, nervous about speaking to an audience so different from her usual clientele. The young people, aged 16 to 22, looked around curiously at the shop's luxurious setting. "Before we begin, I want to share the story behind this project," Margaret continued. She told them about Mary, about the shared dreams, and how Ashley had come into her life to give new meaning to those old dreams. "So in a way, you're helping fulfill a dream that began 40 years ago," she concluded. The young people were touched by the story, and one of them, Charles, 19, raised his hand. "Ms. Margaret, does this mean if we do well, we could get real job opportunities? It means if you dedicate yourselves, you can start your own businesses. The goal isn't to train employees, but entrepreneurs." The Sunday classes became the most special moment of the week for everyone involved. Mr. Joseph was a natural-born teacher, patient and just the right amount of strict. "Craftsmanship isn't just about technique," he explained to the students. "It's about putting your soul into what you do. Every piece has to tell a story." Ashley assisted in the classes, serving as a bridge between the different worlds that gathered there every Sunday. Margaret, in turn, discovered a satisfaction she hadn't felt in years. Seeing talented young people getting the opportunity Mary never had made each Sunday feel like a small redemption. After 2 months of the course, the first pieces were finished. Simple yet well-crafted wallets and small handbags that showed the students' progress. "Now comes the most important part," Ashley announced. "We're going to put these pieces up for sale here in the store." "What do you mean?" Margaret asked. "Next to the European designer brands?" "Exactly, with tags that tell the story of each piece and the young person who made it." The idea caused some discomfort among the long-time employees. "The customers will find it odd," Patricia commented. "Some will, for sure," Ashley agreed, "but others will be charmed by the authenticity." The first customer to buy a piece from the project was none other than Samantha Parker, who returned to the store to see the results. "What wonderful work," she praised, examining a wallet made by Mary, a 17-year-old girl. "Can I meet the person who made it?" "Of course," Ashley replied. "Mary will be here next Sunday. Would you like to meet her?" "I'd love to." The meeting between Samantha and Mary was emotional. The businesswoman was impressed by the young girl's determination. She supported her family with odd jobs and saw craftsmanship as an opportunity to change her life. "I'd like to order 20 wallets to give as gifts at my business meetings," Samantha decided, "and I want each one to come with Mary's signature." Mary nearly fainted from excitement. It was her first big order, and the money she'd earn would be more than she made in 3 months of various jobs. The news spread quickly among the store's customers. Some, indeed, found it strange to see handmade products alongside imported designer goods, but many others were drawn to the idea. "It's so authentic," remarked a regular customer. "Everything these days is mass-produced. Having something made especially by a person, with a real story behind it, is a true luxury." Sales from the project began to exceed expectations. Within 3 months, all 10 students in the course had regular orders. "We need to expand," Ashley suggested to Margaret. "How so?" "Open more classes, maybe include other types of craftsmanship. The project is really working." Margaret agreed, but asked for time to think about how to do it without losing quality or the original purpose. It was around that time that unexpected news arrived. Bethany, Margaret's daughter, was returning from London to Los Angeles. She said she wants to see the changes that have happened at the store, Margaret told Ashley. She's curious about the social project. Are you nervous? Very. Bethany and I have a complicated relationship. She's always criticized me for being too focused on profit, too insensitive toward employees. And now I'm afraid she'll think I'm only doing this to improve my image. But that's not why you're doing it, right? No. It's because of you, your grandma, everything I've discovered about myself these past few months. Bethany arrived in Los Angeles on a sunny Wednesday. She was an elegant, 35-year-old woman with the same proud bearing as her mother, but a gentler gaze. "Mom, you're different," were her first words as she hugged Margaret. "Different how?" "More at ease. Less tense." Margaret introduced Ashley to Bethany, briefly explaining how she had come to the store. "So, you're the one responsible for my mother's transformation," Bethany teased. "I think the change came from within your mother," Ashley replied diplomatically. "Bethany, would you like to see the project?" Margaret offered. "Of course. I'm very curious." The following Sunday, Bethany attended a class from the handicraft course. She was impressed by the atmosphere of collaboration and mutual respect there. "Mom, this is amazing," she whispered during the class. "I never imagined you could create something like this. I didn't create it. It was Ashley, inspired by her grandma. But you supported it, invested in it, believed in it. That's so different from the woman I knew." After the class, Bethany asked to speak privately with Margaret. "Mom, I need to apologize to you." "Why?" "For being so hard on you all these years. I criticized your methods, but never offered a constructive alternative." "You were right in your criticisms. I had truly become a cold person, focused only on profit. But you changed, and seeing that makes me realize I need to change some things in my life too." "How so?" "I'm tired of London, Mom. Tired of the life I lead there. I want to come back to Los Angeles to work with you." Margaret was surprised and moved by the proposal. "Are you sure? Your career there is going so well. Professionally, yes, but not personally. I want to build something meaningful, like you're doing here." "And what would you like to do?" "Expand the social project. Use my finance experience to structure the business better and seek bigger partnerships." Ashley, who had observed the conversation from a distance, was happy to see mother and daughter reconnecting. In the following weeks, Bethany moved back to Los Angeles and began working on an expansion plan for the social project. "We could create a full line of handmade products," she explained in a meeting with Margaret and Ashley. "Not just leather, but also fabrics, ceramics, handmade jewelry." "And how would that work?" Ashley asked. "We'd partner with other communities, offering training and ensuring a market for their products. The store would become a showcase for artisans from across the city." "Wouldn't that change the store's profile too much?" Margaret questioned. "It would change for the better," Bethany replied. "We'd keep the imported brands for one audience, but also create our own line of unique, exclusive products." The idea was ambitious but made sense. Ashley was excited about the possibilities. "We could create our own brand, Mary and Margaret," Ashley suggested, "in honor of the two women who inspired all this." Margaret was moved by the suggestion. "Mary would be proud," she said, her voice trembling. The expansion project was approved, and in the following months, the store underwent a complete transformation. It kept its original elegance but gained a section dedicated to handmade products. The response was astonishing. Fashion magazines began writing about the social revolution of the Beverly Hills boutique. Digital influencers visited the store to learn about the project. "We're creating a trend," Bethany observed, "luxury with social purpose." Ashley, who had started as a beach water vendor, was now recognized as the visionary behind an innovative social project. But what moved her most was knowing she was honoring her grandma's memory. One Thursday afternoon, Margaret called Ashley for a private conversation. "Ashley, I want to make you an official offer." "What kind of offer?" "I want you to be my partner, a real partner with profit sharing and voting rights in decisions." Ashley nearly fell off her chair. Margaret, this is very serious, are you sure? More certain than anything else in my life. You transformed this store, transformed me as a person and brought my daughter back to me. But I don't have money to invest. You don't need to. Your investment was your dedication, your ideas, your vision. That's worth more than any money. Ashley began to cry, remembering all the sacrifices she had made, all the hardships she had faced. Grandma would be so proud, she murmured. She is proud, Margaret corrected. I'm sure of it. The partnership was officially formed a month later in a simple but emotional ceremony. Present were Bethany, the store employees, Mr. Joseph, some students from the project, and Catherine, Ashley's mother. I'd like to make a toast, said Margaret, raising a glass of champagne, to Mary Johnson, the woman who planted the seeds of this dream, and to Ashley, who made those seeds bloom. Everyone raised their glasses, moved. Ashley looked around and saw how her life had completely changed in less than a year. After the ceremony, Margaret gave Ashley a gift, a handbag made by Mary 40 years ago, the same one that had been in the display window on the day they first met. Now it belongs to you, Margaret said. It's your legacy. Ashley held the bag reverently, feeling her grandmother's presence in that special moment. In the months that followed, the store continued to thrive. The social project expanded to other communities, always upholding the values of authenticity and respect that Ashley had learned from her grandmother. One day, Ashley received an unexpected call. It was from a journalist who wanted to write a story about the project. I heard you have an interesting story about two women who reunited through a vintage handbag. It's true, Ashley confirmed. Would you like to share that story with our readers? Ashley looked at Margaret, who nodded in agreement. We'd love to. The article was published a few weeks later, titled The Reunion: How a Vintage Handbag Brought Two Families Together and Transformed a Community. The impact was nationwide. Other stores began copying the socially responsible business model, and Ashley was invited to speak at universities about social entrepreneurship. I never imagined our story would inspire so many people, she remarked to Margaret. True stories always do, Margaret replied, especially when they're about forgiveness, new beginnings, and making dreams come true. 2 years after Ashley first walked into the boutique, the store had become a national reference for sustainable fashion and social responsibility. The craft project now served over 100 young people in 10 different communities. Ashley, now 22, had completed a business administration course through a scholarship program Bethany secured for her. Margaret had insisted it was important for her to have formal knowledge to complement her practical wisdom. One Sunday morning, during one of the craft classes, a special visitor arrived, a group of foreign businesswomen interested in replicating the model in their countries. It's amazing how you've managed to combine luxury and social inclusion, one of them remarked. The secret is not treating it as marketing, but as a life mission, Ashley explained. And how did all this begin? Ashley looked at Margaret and smiled. It started with a playful question about an old handbag. Sometimes the biggest changes come from the simplest moments. After the visitors left, Ashley and Margaret were alone in the store, organizing pieces for the following week. Margaret, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you feel like you've honored Grandma's memory? Margaret stopped what she was doing and looked around the store. The handmade products displayed alongside imported designer brands, the photos of young artisans on the wall, the special showcase dedicated to the history of the project. I feel like we've created something she would be proud of. But more importantly, I feel like I've finally forgiven myself for what happened in the past, and I turned the pain of losing her into something meaningful, added Ashley. The two women embraced, knowing they had built much more than a successful business. They had created a legacy of love, forgiveness, and opportunity. The following week, Ashley had an idea that even surprised Margaret. What if we wrote a book telling our story? A book? Yes. So many people come to us wanting to know how to replicate our model. A book could reach people in places we'd never be able to visit in person. Would you write it? We'd write it together, each of us sharing our own perspective. The idea of the book excited Bethany, who offered to help with research and structure. We could include testimonials from the young artisans, practical tips for social entrepreneurs, and most importantly, the message that it's never too late to make amends for past mistakes. The book took 8 months to complete. The chosen title was 2 Dreams, 1 Story: How a Vintage Handbag Changed Our Lives. The launch took place at the store itself, with everyone who had been part of the journey in attendance: employees, artisans, customers, friends, and family. Mr. Joseph, now 72, gave an emotional speech. Mary always said dreams never die. They just wait for the right person to fulfill them. Ashley was that person, and Margaret had the humility to accept a second chance. During the launch, a young woman approached Ashley. "Sorry to bother you, but I wanted to say thank you," she said shyly. "Thank you? For what?" "I'm from Watts, and I started a project like yours after reading about your story online. I'm already helping 15 kids in my community." Ashley was moved to see their story truly inspiring others to take action. "That's wonderful. How's it going?" "Hard at first, but with love and persistence, it's working. Your story taught me that small actions can create big changes." Conversations like this multiplied throughout the night, each one confirming that their mission to honor Mary's memory was being fulfilled in ways they never imagined. At the end of the event, when everyone had left, Ashley, Margaret, and Bethany remained in the store, reflecting on their journey. "Do you think Grandma knew all this would happen?" Ashley asked. "I think she planted the right seeds in the right person," Margaret replied. "The rest was just a natural consequence." "And now, what do we do with all this success?" Bethany asked. "We keep doing what we've always done. One person at a time, one dream at a time," Ashley answered with the wisdom she had inherited from her grandmother. 3 years later, the Mary and Margaret Network had 5 stores in Los Angeles and 2 in New York. Each location stayed true to the original concept: luxury goods coexisting harmoniously with handmade crafts from local communities. Ashley, now 25, had become one of the most respected social entrepreneurs in the country. Margaret, at 68, discovered an energy she hadn't felt in decades. On a particularly meaningful afternoon, they received a visit from a government delegation interested in turning their model into public policy. "We'd like to replicate this project nationwide," the representative explained. "We're honored by the invitation," Ashley replied, "but we have one condition." "What is it?" "That you always keep the human heart of this project alive. Numbers and goals are important, but they can't replace the personal care we give to each person we serve." That's exactly the kind of human touch we want to bring to other areas of government. The partnership was established, always respecting the original values of the project. That night, Ashley went back home to Compton. She had chosen to keep living there, even though she could have moved to more upscale neighborhoods. "Mom, today the federal government wants to turn our project into a national policy," she told Catherine. "Oh my, sweetheart. Your grandma would be so proud to see how far you've come." "It's not about how far I've come, Mum. It's about what we've built together. Grandma, me, Margaret, you, all the young people in the project. Every single person mattered." "You're right. But tell me, are you happy with all this?" Ashley thought for a moment before answering. "I'm very happy, Mom, because I've found my purpose. I wake up every day knowing the work I do can change someone's life." "What about love? Don't you think about starting a family?" "I do. In fact, there's an interesting guy I met at university. He works with social projects too." "Oh, really? And when do I get to meet him?" "Soon, Mom. Soon," Ashley replied, smiling. Truth was, Ryan was a young lawyer who had become interested in the project through the book. They'd met at a lecture and discovered they had a lot in common. Ashley planned to introduce him to the family before long. End of story. Now tell me, what did you think of this story of reunion and overcoming? Do you believe Ashley made the right decisions by accepting to work at the boutique? And Margaret, do you think she truly honored Mary's memory? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. I love reading what you all think. If the story moved you, don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other touching stories like this one. Thank you so much for your company.